take it away.
Okay, I will share my screen. All right.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Okay, so the iReady Moy diagnostic is the window is opening on Wednesday.
Miss Stafford, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry about that. Okay, so Parkmore's Moy testing schedule. Today and tomorrow, students will just basically be prepared by their teachers for taking the diagnostic. So there is a PowerPoint, maybe even a video that some teachers have shared or will be sharing with their students tomorrow, just to kind of refresh their memories on what to expect as far as the diagnostic goes, some of the controls, the question setup and things like that. And then they may also be doing just some kind of spiral review activities from some previous learning before break. And then on Wednesday, January 6th, is when your child will begin their reading assessment. And they will have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to complete this. What's really important is that it is completed with the teacher online. So the teacher can kind of monitor and also be there for any troubleshooting issues that your child may have. If for some reason your child is unable to finish, that is okay. We have makeup dates scheduled for next Monday and Tuesday, January 11th and 12th. And so primary students will actually be signing on with me if they still need more time to finish. And intermediate students will be signing on with our other testing facilitator, Miss Kern. And then that next Wednesday, the 13th, Thursday, the 14th, and Friday, the 15th, they will have the opportunity to begin their Moy math assessment for iReady. The following Monday, we don't have any school because of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then teachers have a records day, so your child does not have school again on that Tuesday. And then we will have the last 3 days, January 20th, 21st, and 22nd, to do any makeups that a child may need. Our goal is really to have every child tested within the window, which would be by January 22nd, because then this includes them in school-wide data that we then look at and analyze and talk about, any trends we may see, strengths or weaknesses. So it's really important to have your child included in that data. Some students may think, oh, if I just don't take it, it'll go away. It won't. Even if they waited until April to sign on, that test will still be there waiting for them. So, I don't think our little ones have that attitude, but if any of them did, you can tell them, nope, that test is loaded in. It takes precedence over everything else they can do. So they can't avoid it, basically. All right, so now you may be wondering, what is iReady? Why is my child taking it again? So as most of you know by now, since we're in the middle of the year, iReady is an online program. It's for both reading and math. The purpose of it is that it helps your child's teacher determine their needs. It helps personalize their learning, and then the teacher can monitor your child's progress throughout the school year. And this allows your child's teacher to meet your child exactly where they are, because as we know, it's no longer a one-size-fits-all learning environment. So teachers are able to look at how your child did on the diagnostic, and then they can provide support where needed in areas that they may need some extra practice. Also, they can give them challenges where your child may be scoring, a little bit above average. And so then they can challenge your student and maximize their learning potential. So iReady consists of two parts. We have the diagnostic and then the personalized instruction. So the diagnostic is what is being taken starting this Wednesday. It's taken 3 times a year, at the beginning of the year, at the middle of the year, and then you'll see it again at the end of the year. And it's, again, just to monitor your child's progress. But what it does is it also sets up a personalized instruction learning path for your student. And so I have a little video I want to share. And just give me, Ms. Campbell, if you could give me a thumbs up to make sure you guys can hear it once it starts.
Hello, I'm Ty with a message from the iReady team. But first, a question. Have you ever taken a vision test? Some letters are blurry, some are crystal clear, and when the test is over, the eye doctor knows exactly what you can see and how to help you see even better. iReady is like that, but it's not checking vision. It's telling us what your child already knows and what they need to work on next in math and reading. It's a very different kind of test than you and I grew up with. With iReady, no grades are given. It's fully expected that students will get 50% of the questions wrong, which is good because that's how teachers know what to work on with your child. iReady is normally given at school, but this year, there's no normal. Teachers are counting on us, the families, to get the same trusted results so your child's learning will stay on course, whether they're in school or at home or both. And the best way for you to help is not to help. Would you help your child with a vision test? Of course not. You'd stand back and provide no hints. It's about what your child knows, not what you know. And the great thing about this is that the test reveals that students may know more than we think. Now, there are a few things you can do. The most important being this: make sure your child takes iReady in a quiet space. The fewer distractions, the better. Other tips on how to help can be found at the link on your screen. Teachers need our help. In order for them to best support our kids, it'll take our best to get the very best of iReady.
Okay. So just to kind of recap what he said, iReady is not graded. Students are actually not able to get 100% correct. This is not like a spelling test or a math test. The test will continue to adapt as students answer. So if they continue to get question after question correct, the test will continue to get harder and harder. And then if once the test recognizes, once those questions become too difficult and the child starts answering quite a few wrong in a row, it will also then begin to get a little bit easier to find out exactly what students already know. And then it shows us what they're ready to learn. And so just like he said, it may be very hard to resist helping them, especially our little ones who I know get frustrated and look up at you with those big eyes. And I mean, I've experienced it in the classroom and they, what does this word say? What do I do here? It is so difficult to say, I can't help you. But you do need to think about a vision test. If we gave them the answers, the eye doctor would give them the wrong prescription for their glasses and they wouldn't be able to see. And we need to relate that to their learning. If we're giving them the answers, the test is going to get more difficult. And then the learning path that they will then eventually be put on is going to be very difficult for them. And they will get frustrated and not want to do it. Sometimes they may be even asking a sibling for help, and who knows, the sibling could give them the wrong answers. They may have actually known the answer, but just look to a sibling to help them. And then they're going to be put on a path that's too easy and they'll be bored and not want to do it that way either. So I have a few documents here that after the presentation, I will drop into the chat and you can click on them. This website here, this first one where it says Families Assess at Home, that has the video I just showed you, but then it also has a few other things such as this family checklist, some things you can just kind of review and go over with your child before they begin their test. Fridge tips for the actual assessment day, and some supportive phrases that you can use to encourage your child before they test and while they're testing. Thank you. Okay, so some do's and don'ts of testing. Please do try your best to find a quiet place for your child with the least distractions. I know it's hard, especially with multiple siblings in the house. Some of you are working from home. That can be hard, but so that's why we say just with the least distractions so that they can really focus and be present for their test. Just keep encouraging them to do their best and let them know that it's okay to not know all of the answers. They won't know all of the answers. And that's really hard for children to grasp. They want to just make sure they're getting it all correct. But we have to remind them that they are going to get questions they don't know so that we can see what they're ready to learn. If you'd like to for reading, just so they can take notes, you can provide blank paper and a pencil. I would certainly recommend this for math though, so that they can work out a problem. And just remind them to take their time. And this is where we have to find a balance between it's okay to not know all of the answers and sometimes take a guess, but at the same time, we don't want them doing that on every question, because there are certainly going to be questions on here that they do know the answer to, but it will be up to them to focus on what the question is asking of them and to read through the answers and, double check their work. And then if you could just please help ensure they complete the diagnostic within the window, which I talked about previously. And then the night before, make sure they get a good night's sleep, and then encourage a healthy breakfast before they log in to take their test. And then some don'ts, just back to that, please do not help or guide your child even towards solving a problem. So if they're doing a math problem, we can't even say, well, you could draw 3 circles and 5 circles and count them all together. You can't give them any hints. You can say, you can use your paper and pencil to help you, but that's it. You can't give them any type of clues or hints. Don't guide them toward choosing a correct answer. Please do not read any part of the question or the answers to your child. If the test has the ability, and your child will see this on the presentation their teacher shows them, there is a little speaker icon that it's like placed right above the question and also sometimes above the answers. If those are not there, the test is giving them a question that they want them to try to read on their own. If the speaker buttons are there, your child can take their mouse or their finger and move the cursor over the speaker, and it will read everything in that box to your child. And you can tell them that. You can say, move up to the speaker or put your arrow on the speaker. You can show them how to do that so that they can hear the question. Another thing, and this is something teachers, even we watch ourselves in the classroom, try not to hover over your child while they test. We would love if you're kind of nearby for support for any troubleshooting. But I find that, even in the classroom when we're kind of walking around or leaning over them, you can almost feel them tense up because they're nervous about us watching them. So try to refrain from that. And then finally, just, don't worry and don't let your child worry. We do want them to understand the importance of this, but we don't want them to feel overwhelmed or upset when they reach difficult questions. And that's where it's so important to remind them that there are going to be questions they don't know, and that's okay at that time to just give it their best guess and move on. And then just remember that this is their prescription for learning. Okay, and then real quick, and this is something that is very useful, I find, beyond just test taking skills. There's something that we call a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And these they have to do with the beliefs that we have about ourselves, how we carry ourselves. And so if you have a fixed mindset, you believe that like your character, our skills, our intelligence, our creativity are just who we are. We were born with it and it can't be changed. You might have heard someone say, or, some of us have said it ourselves, I'm not any good at math. I've never been good at spelling. It's just the hand we were dealt. But if you have a growth mindset, you feel that the hand you were dealt is just a starting point, and basic skills, creativity, qualities can always be improved and get better with effort. And this is what we try to instill in our students. And so, for example, when it comes to skills, like I said, a fixed mindset is you just believe it's something you're born with, where the growth mindset believe that skills come from hard work and they can always be improved. When facing challenges, a fixed mindset believes that those are just something to avoid because it could reveal a lack of skill, something they don't know how to do. And so they just tend to give up easily. But if you have a growth mindset, you embrace challenges, you see it as an opportunity to grow, and you become more persistent because you take on a challenge, right away, and you're willing to work through them. And then as far as putting in effort, someone with a fixed mindset would think effort is unnecessary. It's something you do when you aren't good enough, because otherwise you would know how to do it because you were born with that skill. But a growth mindset believes that effort is essential and it leads you to a path of mastery. When you give someone with a fixed mindset feedback, they get defensive because they take it personally, because to them, you're attacking who they are and their character, and it's nothing they can help. But when you're giving someone with a growth mindset feedback, that's useful to them because they can learn from it and it gives them areas that they can improve in. And then setbacks. When someone with a fixed mindset experiences a setback, they tend to blame others and they get very discouraged and just want to give up. But as someone with a growth mindset would see a setback as a wake-up call to just work harder the next time. And so I found this, oops, sorry, let me go back. I found this great website and it has a lot of good information, but this one particularly are things that you can say to your child to help them develop a growth mindset. So instead of saying, if your child were to do something, instead of saying, you're so smart, you can say, I can see you worked so hard on this, because it already starts to put that in their head that I did well at this because I put in effort and not because they're just smart. Or if they're not doing something well, maybe this just isn't for you. And instead, we would want to say, it seems like it's time to try a new strategy, or, we'll try harder next time. But what's neat about this is when you just hover over, if you can see on my screen, it kind of explains why. And I had said this back in December, but I've started this with my 3-year-old, and I am already seeing a difference just in the way she approaches things, and even the way she comes to me. She'll say, Mom, look how hard I worked on this. And I mean, it's amazing. She's 3 years old. And so it really does have a positive influence. And I think if we can, do this with our kids on a regular basis, like I said, not just during testing times, we're going to see a huge difference in the effort that they put forth for their work. And then, I will, just for a final reminder, just with the growth mindset, letting our kids see that our efforts are what lead us to succeed. And so remind your child to put forth their best effort on the diagnostic, and always. And we thank you very much for your support. And I am going to put those other websites in the chat for you. And then I did see in the chat up above that for the month of January, we're not just going to be focusing on iReady. It's just because the window is starting. We give the different dates so that kids can finish. But the thing is once they finish their diagnostic, their learning path starts immediately. So they will get learning activities that they can do. And we have those makeup dates so that the teachers can continue teaching those other days. And then I will be pulling students who, each Monday and Tuesday aren't finished, or that last week of January. Those students can be with me finishing while other students are working on some practice activities and review activities since we're coming off a break. And then I'm going to check if I missed any other questions.
There was one more comment, but I can address
Okay.
2 questions from the parents.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Stafford.
Mhm.
And parents, we know this is a bit different because it's almost as if you're being asked to give the test to the student, but we're actually giving the test to the student. We just need to make sure that the parents are aware that they are taking a test, so that the environment is quiet, that they are ready to take a test. This is the 3rd year for the iReady test. Before, the students actually took 2 tests. And as educators, we fought against that. Our students used to take the iReady test, and then a week later, they would take the MAP test. And it was just too much for them. And so now the district took away the MAP test. So now they just have this iReady test. And as Ms. Stafford stated, they are only supposed to get 50% of the assessment correct. So to answer the question of the kindergarten parent, yes, there are some skills they have not yet been taught. And this is why they take the assessment, because the data, the analysis that we will receive will provide that teacher with a true depiction on the skills that the student needs for instruction. If we were in person, we would still give this assessment. It's just different now that we're virtual, that they have to take it at home. The state mandates districts to give the test. This is not something the district makes up. This is not something Parkmore makes up. This is how we receive our funding. If you go on the Ohio Department of Education's website, you will see they use test scores to compare urban schools, against rural schools, against suburban schools. And this is how you figure out what school you want to send your child to based off of test scores. It's sad, but that's just how society is set up. It's always been set up that way, even when we were in school. I can remember they started the proficiency test my freshman year in high school. I was the first group to take the proficiency test, and that determined if we graduated high school or not. Um, does this test hurt your child? No, it is a benefit to your child because once they take this assessment, we can see if little Johnny needs more help with letter recognition or if he's missing some vowel sounds so that we can put him in a small group so that he can receive those interventions, or if Lakeisha may be in kindergarten, but her test scores are showing us that she's ready for second grade work. And as a result of her test scores, I will then provide her information to our gifted specialist who could test her for gifted services. So this test isn't an I gotcha. It's not to tear down our students. It's not to cause frustration or any type of anxiety or nervousness in our students. It is indeed a prescription for us to know how to support your child. It's just like in the video, when you take your child to the eye doctor, some letters they can see and some letters they can't see. But at the end of the exam, the eye doctor is able to say they fit this type of prescription, and then the child can see better once they receive their glasses. And so it's the same thing with iReady. It's with any of the tests that we take during the school year. It's the way of the world. They will be testing until they graduate high school. They'll be testing in college if they go to college, if they go to the armed services. On our job as an educator, I am forever taking tests. We are always taking tests. You take a test to get your driver's license. You take a test, for some jobs, to get promotions. I wish it wasn't like that, but you have to show some type of skill set in order to make growth. And we can't produce that growth in a child if we don't know where they're at. It's just like in class, a child can sit and smile and shake their head and not understand a word that we're saying or what's going on. But the test will show us exactly what that child understand and what they know. Um, as an educator, I feel you all. I have an 11-year-old, so I understand the frustrations of working from home and having to care for a child. It's a lot, and it's what it's going to be for a while until the dust settles with COVID-19. We just don't know what's going to take place.